peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Viewers, those listening to this tape or this video, I want to bring to your attention that the politics of proxy wars in Africa is becoming real, and it has become a reality. I want to bring to the attention of the African states that time and time again we have fallen victims of proxy wars. We fight wars that are not ours. We fall in conflicts that are not supposed to be, don't help Africa, and they don't help our countries at all. The proxy war that is in East and Central and the Horn of Africa has been ignited, supported, equipped by France. It has been very real that the French government, quietly through its company called Total Oil, has been searching for resources around the triangle of East and Central Africa and Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. The Lapset was one of them, which could have been a landmark project for the people of France. They withdrew from it. The Tanga to Mwanza, they made it, they withdrew from it. The search for oil and resources through Total Oil has brought us the dangers of a proxy war in the region. It is therefore very prudent for people of the region to understand the dynamics that we are going through. For example, in Rwanda and the Burundi conflict, there is a proxy war. We are fighting a proxy country. It has brought us to a war between the two countries, between Uganda and Rwanda and Burundi. There is a proxy war in Congo who is sponsoring a resurgence of rebels that are fighting President Tshisekedi because he was not supported by countries that we know very well. This type of strategy has happened in North Africa, where Libya has been reduced to rebels, where each faction, even the government supported by United Nations, is being bombarded by a rebel called Khalifa Haftar, who is funded by countries that we know. The question of Somalia and the Kenyan maritime presents a challenge, a test case for Africa and East Africa to stand firm and denounce the actions of countries that bring proxy wars and proxy politics in our region. It is therefore my humble submission that for this conflict, for this to end, we must do enough publicity, advocacy around the area to tell and explain to the international community why this problem is going to create an imbalance in the peace in the region, and the regional peace will be affected. It is therefore my humble submission that as a Ugandan whose troops, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers of other many millions Ugandans who are in Somalia, condemn any action by the Somali government to try to resolve issues that should have been resolved amicably as Africans within the African confines. I submit, therefore, that some of us will go a mile further to do now, from now onwards, to expose, to show the challenges of these countries that make us fight a proxy war in Africa. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is. It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, he is our son and he is our thief.
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader, probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers,
Yes.
do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa. The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
I want to call upon the people of Abazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora in Abazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses in Abazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Abazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. It is not upon the leaders of Abazonia, because I am not from Abazonia, but I've played a pivotal role in making sure that I loud out the voices, I put out the call, I call upon AU, EU, United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Many of them have listened to some of the things that I say here, and they have come at last. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Abazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Abazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount, as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. What has killed South Sudan is not because they don't have the money, the minerals, the resources. Is ego between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. We would not like to see that ego come to the people of Abazonia, the leadership of Abazonia. I call upon Samuel Sako, Akanga, Miran, and Eko to unite and talk with one voice on international scene that will bring about the peace, the tranquility that you yearn for since 1961, when the resolution 1608 was abandoned by the United Nations General Assembly and Abazonia was annexed by the Cameroon government by then. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without disintegration. Thank you. The creation of African Continental Free Trade Area is a step forward for the African integration, and it is very much welcome both by Africans in Africa and those in diaspora. The creation of such is the only second one since the formation of World Trade Organization in 1994, and is only compared to the size that can compete if it works in Africa. 1.3 billion people will benefit out of this free trade that has been signed and endorsed by 54 heads of state. After several years of up and down in the valleys of Africa and the mountains of Africa, we finally came to a conclusion that this has to happen, which brings us to the dream of Kwame Nkrumah when he said, at least building a block by block, Africa will one day unite to stand as a united continent. But are the members of this African Union committed? Will they implement what they have decided? Today, in several countries, we see signs of xenophobia, the lack of patriotism amongst the younger generation, the lack of employment, the unemployment, the mistreatment of the young, the youth, those who need jobs, the corruption, the amount of corruption that has eaten the entire continent of Africa could hamper the free trade that we are anticipating on the continent. What measures, therefore, have African heads of state put in place to ensure that those who lag behind, those who drop out, must be penalized? We should not sign the document for the sake of documents, but we should sign documents for practical reasons that we shall implement what Africa needs today. Can it happen in our times? Is it going to happen? Is integration a mirage? Is integration worth going to happen? Will it happen? What has happened about the present blocks that have started integration process? What have they done? Is Africa integrating? Thank you.
joining us. It's a brand new week, the 9th of September 2019. The show is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Mugutu, and we're here to let you know what's really happening in Africa today as we continue to talk about the news making headlines across the continent. And together with me on this show today is none other than Dr. David Nyakoracha Matanga. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam.
Karibu sana.
Yes, asante. Yes. Thank you very much, viewers, wherever you are in Africa and wherever you are in your capital city. If you are in Lagos, Abuja, Accra, Tripoli, Asmara, Addis Ababa, Kampala, Kigali, Dar es Salaam, Harare, good morning. This morning, we shall be looking at the legacy of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, how far it has gone, successes, obstacles, challenges. And we shall put forward some of the challenges that the legacy faces, successes that we have managed to go through, and obstacles that still lie ahead. As you know, it has always been the same thing that whenever you hear of an election in Africa, people think of different things in Africa when an election is hard, or the dates of an election, or when they smell any type of elections. So, thank you very much, viewers. Last week we dealt with very difficult topics, and one of the topics that we held was the death of President Robert Mugabe, the late icon of Africa, the father of liberation, the beacon of hope for the future generation of liberation of Africa, the fight against colonialism, the fight against imperialism that Mugabe inspired many people. We lost an icon. Also last week, we had a problem of South Africa. A South Africa that we want is not the South Africa we see today. So this morning, we shall leave that aside and, of course, mention that President Mugabe, the late, the body will be flown from Singapore. It will arrive Harare. The burial will take place on Sunday. President Emerson Mnangagwa has sent a delegation, a high-powered delegation led by the Vice President Mohadi. Mr. Mohadi will lead a delegation of the former First Lady's family, Sale Mugabe, and the Marufus family, which is the family, and then other relatives and a spokesman of the family, Leo Mugabe, a great engineer, friend of mine, a friend for a long time since 1997. Thank you very much, Emerson, for the gesture that you have, shown. He has also written to several African heads of state leaving and those inviting them for the funeral. So most of us will try to see how we can find a seat to be able to see the last hours of our hero, especially myself. I've struggled for this gentleman in Europe. I've stood for him in Europe to remove sanctions. I deserve only one thing, to see him go, that he has gone, and I see him say, bye-bye, uncle, but we shall meet again. There is that song that always says, which makes my tears come down. And that's the only song in the hymn book that encourages me to know that at last someone is gone. Otherwise, usually my tears just flow out of emotion. Like when I heard Mugabe was gone, I wept. But when I heard Mandela was gone, I didn't. So I have made it very clear that there is a difference and anybody has a liking. My tears also have liking. If they don't like, they don't come. So thank you very much. Go ye, our hero. Go ye, Africa. Africa has missed a hero. We'll miss an encouraging man, a person who encourages people in Africa to stand up for their rights in terms of suppression that we saw in the regime of Ian Smith. This guy played a role to deliver the people of Zimbabwe. Viewers, thank you very much again with Miriam. We're back here. Later Miriam will bring her Africa news. We are happy that Dr. Riek Machar Tenyi is in Juba this morning. He has just arrived.
He just arrived in Juba this
Yes.
morning.
Thank you very much from Khartoum, escorted by General Dugla, my friend whom I knew in 1996, 97, 98. Thank you, Dugla. Give him security and a guarantee that he will always remain. We want peace to return in southern Sudan. Thank you very much, General Riek Machar Tenyi, for having arrived, at least to see for yourself, to assess the assembly places where your troops will be assembled. We were talking of a number of troops. They are not very few.
Where in Sudan?
Yes, they are not very few. 126,000 men.
In South Sudan?
Yeah, one side.
Who, Riek Machar's side?
Yes.
The president's side?
It's not easy.
That's the side.
It is not very easy.
It's a whole battalion.
So, no, 126,000. Those are battalions.
That's a whole county.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
These are many troops and assembly places. We need money, we need food, we need to sustain the peace process. Please, the international community must come in and help the people of South Sudan. We have had enough of talk. Now the action is here and the people have started arriving. Riek has come. Let's see what he can get out of this. We thank all those who have persuaded him, including ourselves, who have told him, please, this time, don't lose hope. Come straight and be in
Juba. But also, remember, I think they're supposed to be marking 1 year, the 12th of September. This month, they're marking 1 year after the peace deal that was signed last year, September, that did not take place. So we're hoping that at the time that they're given, that was 6 months from May last year towards, we are quickly approaching November, and not much progress has been made in terms of implementation. And finally, getting to a place where South Sudan can have a unity government. And in one of the agreements during the peace deal last year, one of them was to make sure that these soldiers you've mentioned, they were actually trained, they received military training, not the guerrilla training that they have right now, because it has been apparent over the different reports that we have been getting from South Sudan that actually these army people are the ones who have been perpetrating a lot of this human rights abuse in South Sudan. But because they do not have the proper training in how military men and men in uniform are trained, like we see in Kenya or other African, other countries across the world that has proper, structures. But in South Sudan, they just picked young men, put them into the military. So none of them has proper military training. So that was one of the proposals. They actually receive proper military training. But as they are right now, they are militias. A lot of them are militias. And so I don't know how they're going to achieve that. And you've mentioned one side has 126,000. These people need training. Absolutely.
SPLMO.
Yes.
IO.
How many fractions of SPLM are there?
It has two inside and outside.
Sudan as well. Yes.
So these are some of the things that we want to chat about in Africa news. And we have just told you, Odias is asking whether Dr. Matanga is... Yes, I'm coming. I'm coming, God willing. I will be on the flight. And I will be there. I want to see my hero go. I want to see my hero. I will be there. So, Mr. Odias, prepare the food, prepare the sasa shamari, mukwasha, prepare the sasa.
What is that?
Sasa is the traditional food, the corn, the flour mixed with water with maize meal. It's a maize meal. It's unga.
Is it ugali?
Ugali. In Kenya we call it ugali.
So it's the same. It's the same thing. Or theirs is
sasa.
different. Okay.
It is the same. The preparation differs, and for us in Uganda we call it posho. So.
But in Uganda you prepare it the same way we do here.
Ours is prepared different, the hard way.
Okay.
Yes, we even put it back into banana leaves and make it.
And do you mix it with ripe banana?
No. This ugali, the normal way. The way you make ugali.
Okay.
Yesterday I ate some ugali from the millet, the flour that came from Uganda called maganjo. Very, very fantastic. Fine sasa. So prepare audience. You have called me, I will become away. I cannot miss burying my hero. I will be on the flight. I will look for a flight, wherever it is. I will be there. I want to see for myself a historical event. I want to celebrate the life of Gabriel Robert Mugabe.
But also, Doctor, on Mugabe's funeral and finally his burial, place, there has been there've not been some argument because
now it has been confirmed.
He'll be buried in Mashonaland.
No.
Or in the Heroes.
He'll be buried at the Heroes Acre.
But he did not want to.
We don't.
That is according to the
He's our leader. He is the commander, and the fellow commanders have fallen there.
Yes.
All commanders have fallen there. All of the commanders have fallen there. So he must sleep near his commanders. Whether there is anything else, the ceremony can take place at their home in Vimba, and from Vimba they can bring it. But he will be buried in the Heroes Acre.
That is the government's decision, because some of his relatives wanted him to be buried in his rural homestead in the village of Kutama in Mashonaland, West Province, about 80 kilometers from the capital Harare. But most of Zimbabwe's national heroes who fought against white minority rule said no, Mugabe has to be buried in the Heroes.
Remember, he has two families.
Yes, from the first wife.
The first wife. So they also, if you are looking at the second wife, you must also look at the family of the first wife.
Yes.
If the reason is to go and bury him in the rural area, that the family can have access. What about these ones? They might not be on talking terms. So let's have him let's not even argue over our hero.
Yes.
This man did a great job. This guy mobilized people to remove the butcher of Sainsbury. Ian Smith murdered, killed, slaughtered, raped, defiled blacks, killed them with napalm bombs. If it was this time, we would have taken Ian Smith to the International Criminal Court.
We can still do that. Is he alive or he's dead?
He's dead. So we can't do anything beyond what we can. We have done our best. If a man in Africa has died, you don't go on looking for faults. Because we don't accuse a dead man in Africa. We don't. Never should we ever try to accuse a dead man in Africa. Because a dead man in African tradition is dead. Does not rise again. Does not come back to answer. Whatever faults were here, Zimbabweans can mold themselves on these faults, change their country. And change quite a lot of things. It is not Mugabe anymore. It is we who are left on earth that must help Zimbabweans to steer away from conflict, to steer away from regime change, to steer away from any acts that can sabotage the current government that is in place, to help them to reconcile, Father, to restitute, to reparate, to reconcile, tell truth-telling, accountability. I told you that is the story that I talk about in Africa. If you don't have a redemption strategy in Africa, talk about death, that's it. Your country will be dying quickly.
So maybe it's about time, because there seems to be some Zimbabweans who are still holding some grudge over what happened so many years ago. Is it perhaps time that perhaps the sitting government today see how they can reconcile the past with the present and see how some of those injustices can be addressed, and maybe forgiveness, so that the country can be able to move forward as one people?
Yes, I want to address people like Max Manyika, my brother-in-law Max Manyika. They are the same, but they made Zimbabwe. America, where you stay, is full of dead bodies. You walk over dead bodies in America. The soil in the gardens is dead bodies. How many Americans died to get the freedom that we have today? How many British changed hands, empire and empire upon empire? Even the Romans conquered, the Turks conquered, they came, Saxon conquered Britain. Britain is a country that lies on dead bodies. There's a saying there. There's a saying in our Ugandan situation where we say, "Ensi egulamulambo," means the country was built on dead bodies. Many people have gone in this soil that we tilt every day. We tilt and return it, use it to grow the crops. There are many millions. You found this soil here. Nobody has told you who was here before. So let's reconcile and move on. You can't talk about all the time about Hitler. Hitler is gone. Germany is a superpower today.
Moved on.
It has moved on.
Yes.
So people who want to see reconciliation must not bring the past. Let the past only guide us, that never should we surrender ourselves and arrive on that journey. The same journey that brought us where we are today. But continue going so that you don't do a reverse.
And maybe if you can learn from our past and see how we learn and correct, for the sake of the future. So I think it's about time Zimbabweans really reconciled the past and the present so that the country can move forward. Because if you keep clinging, even us here in Kenya, a lot of things were done during post-independence. And if you were still sitting there holding to some of these things, it will be impossible for us to be where we are today.
Okay.
All the countries in Africa, yes.
Thank you very much. That is just an opener for the week. It's still trending. President, the late icon of Africa, died. Many heads of states will flock into Harare starting from Saturday to bury our African hero.
But many heads of state, I expect the Africans. I don't see a lot of Europeans or people from America to come and witness this burial. They seem.
Of course, the Americans are celebrating. It's okay. But for us, Africans, we shall bury our African. He has died. We are not going to change what he did. He gave land to the people. He removed land from 4,000 commercial farmers to the number of Zimbabweans, whether 200,000 or whatever, who got the farms, they are Zimbabweans. They are not digging for South Africans, they are digging for themselves. So Mugabe, you did a great job. I have nothing to worry about. Zimbabwe will move on, and Zimbabwe will change. One day, that country will rise and shine again. There is no shortcut about it. So it touches in the second phase of our topic. A Kenyan civil society, a political party, or they are neutral, or they are hired brigade.
Are they becoming political?
Yes.
I think they've been very...
The Kenyan civil society, is it a political party? Is it a civil society party? Is it a hired brigade? Keep yourselves tuned. I'm going to dissect that heavily. And then we have right now Miriam with her news. But before that, let's look at the headlines.
And Doctor, before we look even at the headlines, I don't know if you're watching the news last night or you're enjoying your nice ugali from home, but did you see Ndindi Nyoro and Minor Commander?
That's what we are coming about.
Okay.
Is this country
I was ashamed.
becoming a state of adolescence? The MPs have reached a state of adolescence.
He's a grown man.
Nyoro is an adolescent man. He's just small in, I think, big in body, but he is not fit to have been an MP. I don't know why the Kiharu people, the place with very brainy people, were able to get a broker,
but can you,
a finance broker,
yes,
in the city of London, in the city of Nairobi, who was actually very poor like a church mouse. But right now, when he entered the parliament and he started receiving cash from one person, a place where cash is hammered every day, the man grew wings. You know, he's on my program. You saw it in clips here. I always keep him and give respect. This was my boy that I was paying money to come on my show. And I'm very, very shocked that he behaved that way. He goes in a church, disrupts the church. Why don't you go to another church and pray? Whether they are talking about Ruto, you are not Ruto. Whether they are talking about Uhuru, talk about that. Don't fight. These are leaders themselves, they don't fight. Why do you fight? Why do you fight? Kenyans, surely, why do you fight?
Can the church also learn from that and maybe stay clear of these politicians?
Which church? Is there a church?
The
Are there
church,
churches? The only church left is maybe Old Saints Church. But some of these churches are businessmen. If you see the type of programs that you are a poor person, a congregation that has gone to pray to God to give you something, then you reach the church, they give you a list of things to buy. I'm telling you, you can even collapse in some of these churches in Kenya. I don't know why the law is not working at all. Some churches in Africa are becoming a nuisance. Some churches have become commercial shops that when you go there, they tell you a video is 5,000 shillings. Another one is 500 shillings. A book is 10 shillings. Another one is this. You have gone there, you don't have even the money. Some churches in this country, why I don't go to the end of them is I only go to All Saints Church, Anglican Church, which I go to. Some churches have envelopes at the door. And the ushers give you the envelope according to your big, like me. When I arrived, Dr. Matanga,
you're given the biggest.
The biggest envelope. Honestly, this is the type of churches we have. He takes out the biggest, 10,000. And you know you have gone there and everybody is watching. You can't refuse to take the envelope. Are these the churches that we want? We shall have a substantive topic on that and discuss the churches in Kenya. What happened yesterday was very embarrassing.
Very disgusting.
And Mr. Honorable Ndindi Nyoro ran to take human shield.
And the minor commander.
You know, but after that,
they went fighting outside. I think they attacked each other physically outside.
Yes.
Because I think they were chased out from the inside the church. Or I don't know, they were not through with their feud inside the church. They took it outside and they went very physical. Over a microphone. I don't know what the problem
Not
was.
even microphone. Over defending people.
On people's behalf.
Why don't they ask me who defended even people, but some people don't even greet me? You see, you can die for these guys. Among the people, you go and ask this Ocampo 6. It's only one person who said thank you. The rest, none of them. Wasn't I a biggest defender here? So when you are defending these people, be careful. There is only one person. And thank you very much. I will not say the name, but the person knows. He said, thank you very much. The rest, no. If one of them would even crush me with a car, if he found me, or he could even, I'm telling you. So when you are defending these guys and you want to die, be careful.
Mtunzi wants to see
the videos. I think let's bring those videos in the church. If the production team Ozis wants these videos, my friend from Zimbabwe, we shall show you the videos. You see, so defending so much is also a problem. That's one of the obstacles. In fact, it links with the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
Finish it there. It's good you brought it so that you have time. Then we have time to dissect the African news and the rest of our topic. If you look at President Uhuru Kenyatta has said, please leave early campaigns. Early campaigns are going to kill this country. Early campaigns are going to frustrate the work done in developmental areas, projects. Early campaigns, people marshalling, people sensitizing people, rallies. Someone is someone is like he has to get this presidency. As if God told him, you have to get it or else you will collapse. And the President Uhuru Kenyatta said, please, tone down. Don't bring in. Now you see. But I'm telling you, you know what? For everything, there is an end. So let's wait next month.
Do you think this kind of politics they're playing right now, all of these politicians from both sides of the divide, will it act as their own undoing when it comes to the real general election? Because there seems to be showing some characters that I don't think the Kenyan electorate would want to have such leaders. I don't know if you've come to a place where we start judging our leaders according to what we see them, even how we see them.
First of all, I am not in any of those groups. And I want to say Joy Mangi for bringing this to my attention. I'm not a member of Tanga group, neither am I a member of Chiweleke or whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Is it Chiweleke? Chiweleke.
We will take that.
No, you better say it. Maybe you also don't know how to pronounce Chiweleke. Whatever the group.
Do you want us to keep saying it?
Chiweleke. Yes, I am not a member of any of those. I am an independent-minded person, a friend of a Pan-African brother. Full stop. I defend President Uhuru Kenyatta on the principle of what he can deliver for this country, the peace, the strategy, the redemption strategy that I sang for many years. I am happy about that. And I will write, and I continue to write, and I continue to write to defend him. I am not a member of any of those groups that fight in churches. Never. And I want this to be known by Joy Mang.
Yes,
so that I am different. I don't belong to Tanga. I don't Tanga. I'm already past the age of Tanga, roaming crew. I'm not a roaming crew. Those are the images people who are looking for. You see?
Mtunzi, there you go. It's quite a shame. That is a former member of parliament for Starehe and Kiharu member of parliament and in the Nyoro there. Okay. So what was the story behind this? I hear Minor Commander was the guest of honor in that church. And like he had a member of parliament did not like the fact that he was given the microphone and he decided he will take over the whole thing, and that agitated the other side. So very, very childish there, really. And then they took the fight outside physically. That was in a church yesterday. These churches should learn from this. But as you've asked, one of our viewers here, Mene Ogud Nyilowa, you're saying the first time I arrived at your country, Kenya, I felt so happy when I saw a pastor preaching the gospel on the bus because I have never witnessed such a thing in my country. That is very good, but also at the same time, a lot of pastors are taking advantage of this because we have the freedom of worship, which is okay, but a lot of pastors are taking advantage of this and are abusing this freedom that this country has given us to worship and to, to express our faith.
You see, all this, how high you fight and how hard you slap the other is how much you are paid. Because let me ask one question.
Can you say that again?
How high you fight and how hard you slap the other is how much you will be paid. Because every now Dindi Nyoro is highly paid for the action. Yes. You saw the MPs surrounding Citizen TV.
Oh, yesterday.
Many of them highly paid because he did something that annoyed Uhuru Kenyatta's so-called group. So this type of myopism.
So did they arrest him?
They looked for him and he disguised as a waiter and left it through the canteen.
Okay.
He went up to Citizen TV.
He was having an...
So the police followed there. And they wanted to arrest him. MPs came from this group headed by one malcontent called Senator Murkomen.
So the Tanga team.
That guy there. You know, that guy, I have a dossier on him, very big one, during the ICC. I want him to say one thing on Matanga, like this, then I release it. So that Kenyans know the type of people that you elect here, who have actually camouflaged. These are the people killing the Jubilee Party. That time they were writing things to go and imprison Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto. Today they have masqueraded that they are very good people and they have taken a position. We have a lot of wolves in a sheep's skin. We have them. And that's why Jubilee Party is breaking to pieces. They better be told. I'm not a member of any of those parties, but if I were a member, some of these people, I'll strip them the power quickly. Like that Murkomen. Senator Murkomen should not be a majority leader. He should go and learn a bit how to filing cabinet and how things work. Then he can come back to lead people. Because the type of hate sentiments that he is expressing, you saw what he was being interviewed yesterday by Anna Chiguta, who stole my program, you know, on K24. I've forgiven her. You know I'm a peacemaker. I've forgiven her. May you prosper and make some money and buy new clothes. Yes, that is okay, because that is my program. But that is very good for me. I am an elder and I don't follow things. And I want you to conduct that program in a good way. Don't fear anything. Do it. I'm also continuing to do. I will do it even better somewhere, and you will even pick more of these programs. Because first of all, I'm old, an elder, and two, I'm educated beyond her education, so I can't compete with her. So honestly, if you go to court that you are swinging over a program, I looked at it, I said, no, there's no need of going to court. Let her have it, and that is a television of my friends. They can use it. That means I have educated some people. They can also pick from me. I am happy. But let's stick to this point of Murkomen. You saw what the talk he talks. He's talking, since the president said something to do with lifestyle.
Early in the year.
When President Uhuru Kenyatta said we must do lifestyle, On Monday or Tuesday, it was a Tuesday, Murkomen said the lifestyle cannot do because there is no constitutional law that can force people to go and do lifestyle. He killed it. A week passed, he got his boots, his army uniform, went to Mao. Said Mao people are being killed. We wasted 1 month, 2 months talking about Mao. He even called MPs. The guy is in government. The guy is a leader of majority. Hell bent. We don't know what these people are doing. I always talk like this. I want to see him ever answer me. Makiwa of the dossier. Very nice one. Because Kenyans don't know what some people did. There are people who did very bad things against even that Ruto. They did very bad things. Haki ya Mungu against Uhuru Kenyatta. They did it. And these guys have forgiven you. And they have even given them the highest post. You get the point? And that's life. So we can't cry over it. But now these words of violence, this thing which did Nyoro, you see now, if it is like this under the, if it is like this and we haven't gone for election, the date is not announced.
2022.
Miriam,
2022 is not even close.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has said, please, leave early elections, early campaigns. Just help him to do the big four. Set a legacy. Let's help. Let's leave a united Kenya. He wants to leave a united Kenya. He will succeed. Whoever wants to oppose BBI, Walai, then you are out. You saw how Murkomen cannot even, he says he likes the parliamentary system. So it means he's now confusing. He wants to stick. Other people are saying BBI is very bad. Before they even read what BBI had said. It's a redemption strategy. BBI, I think, people who brought the building of bridges confused some people. BBI is a redemption strategy. The 9 points are a redemption strategy to the problem of Kenya. Kenya dies every 5 years. Sikia hiyo. Every 5 years, the city mortuary, we call for extension of space. From 1992, you need to correct that mess. The first thing you have to correct is you must have an electoral system that satisfies everybody. Although not everybody will be satisfied, people will still say it was credible. So the 9 points are a redemption strategy. Accountability, healing, truth, reconciliation, reparations, restitution, and above all, healing. The nation needs healing. We need to talk and teach like this. Let's start teaching people on any media and any format you find, teach people. The biggest problem is people in Kenya read names. They don't read the material you write.
They don't, and it's quite evident that Kenya, we need a lot of healing, and also if we don't, then it will turn to be, we'll be passing our anger to like what is happening right now in South Africa. I also believe South Africans, the black South Africans, need healing from what happened to them years back and across Africa. And I think that when we can create an environment where we can have open and honest conversations about what happened in the past and reconcile with and see how we can move from the past to the future, and so that we create a better country even for the coming generations. And I think you said Jubilee Party is about whatever is happening now in the wrangles will make Jubilee Party is what is causing problems in Jubilee Party. But there are other critics, Doctor, who will say that Jubilee Party is actually dead. I don't know what will be your opinion on that. The others who are considering Jubilee Party already a dead party. It's just the shadowy of itself, what it used to be. But in the real essence, it's non-existence from whatever we've been seeing happening.
Look.
Should the supporters worry about their party?
You have to get worried. How can you be in a party where someone is coming to say the words that Murkomen is saying? He's a leader of majority. Why can't he go back to the Senate and propose a nice motion and discuss with the president on what they can do? You can't wake up every weekend. When it comes to a weekend, I get so worried in this country. So worried. You don't know what they are going to do on Sunday, especially Sunday. You know? And anybody looking at the situation in Kenya now would think it is a free fall for everybody.
Or maybe we have an election in like 2 months.
Yes.
Yeah. Our
people are talking in, but I've discovered, I'm told, there's a lot of money after these rallies.
Oh, people are paid to come and...
No, some things are exchanging.
Oh, some things are being given.
Yes.
Offered. Okay.
It's very good. The deadline is 31st of September.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm told that's why people don't want to stop the rally. Pressure. People, there's a man who came and told me he got a motorcycle from Nairobi.
From a rally?
New, yeah.
From attending a rally?
Yes.
That's...
Kubwa, 100,000. He's now doing some border. He called me. Yeah? It was given by a senator. So there's a problem. So when you look at that, let's look at one thing that is sticking here. The question of the magistrate who actually stole exhibits. You know him?
Who is that?
The magistrate in Mombasa. Yeah, she's here.
That same lady?
No. The magistrate in Mombasa, when the suspect was brought to court, and the magistrate...
Yes, I heard that on the news yesterday.
Yes. So he has been, I think, sentenced.
The evidence went missing.
Yeah, he took 30 million plus the cocaine.
He took the 30 million plus the cocaine.
There it is, Stephen.
Yeah,
the cocaine, the 30 million and the various currencies. Yeah. So, and then we have people who stole, the disabled, the CCTV, and they stole 72 million shillings. The police managed to recover only 7 million. You see?
Yeah, that heist that happened in one of the banks here. But we said that must have been the inside job, because now you can see the staff is the one who went and disabled the CCTV so that these guys could come in and do whatever they did. And they took 72 million Kenya shillings. And yes.
So let's look at that magistrate, how Mombasa magistrate lost Kenya shillings 30 million. You will see stage by stage how Stephen will bring it, I think, on board, if we can. It is very interesting story, I tell you, my dear. It is 10.2 kilograms of heroin worth 30 million is brought to the court. This is how it brought to the court as evidence against known trafficker Hussein Masood. Okay. Then court assistant Onesimus Momanyi takes the heroin from the police but doesn't store it in the court evidence storage area. Instead, he keeps it privately and doesn't even record the evidence that he has transferred it. Number 3, Magistrate Kangoni continued to hear the case against Masood and sentences him to 30 years in prison. However, Kenya shillings 600,000, which was also taken as evidence, is returned to Masood. Why does a man in jail need Kenya shillings 600? Okay, then we move Masood. Meanwhile, Kagoni and the 4 court assistants privately stored the cocaine. It is now a thing. They did, store the cocaine. The court cannot track it, and the police cannot track it. The things get interesting. Number 5, Masood then later on files an appeal. Then the appeal judges say, but where are the exhibits? Now, during the appeal hearing, there was no evidence against him, and he will be set free. Everybody involved will receive a payback.
That is in Mombasa.
That's Mombasa.
No wonder they were protesting when the Chief Justice was there.
Yeah, exactly. And the Maraga, I have forgotten to read something. And the Maraga, you see, Chief Justice Maraga, does he know, now see why people call you an important buffoon for defending a corrupt judges?
They call him what?
Or corrupt judges. Why people call Maraga Mukora? It's this. In his court, he doesn't know the exhibits. It all button stops at Maraga. So Garanga says, Bia Garanga said, Dr. Matsanga and Miriam, Kenya become a military state where the police arrested MPs for no reason.
There's actually a reason why.
There's a reason. I think you explained.
There's a reason why the police felt they had to go and try to arrest the member of parliament for Kiharu. As I think you just joined after we were done with that conversation. They involved in a sort of a fight in a church where they'd gone there for a service or for whatever reason that had took them to the church together with another former member of parliament for Starehe. So they escaped arrest, I think, in Kiharu, and coming to Nairobi, he had gone. He was attending an interview in a local TV station here. So police learned about his whereabouts. I think they wanted him for questioning. I had left there when they'd shown the car, the police vehicle waiting for him. So I just went to sleep, or I don't know what happened. So apparently he was not arrested.
No, later on, he sneaked.
He sneaked out as one of the waiters.
Wearing the waiter's uniform from the canteen. It could be an exaggeration. So many people are exaggerating. So he's my younger man, so I pity him that he is making very silly mistakes. I wish he learned from us. Honestly, we supported people. We even sold our own shoes and the cars to go. But out of the 6, only one person said thank you. One.
All right. So
you remember the story of Jesus healing the 10 lepers?
Yeah, 9 went and
9 went, only 1 came. Yes. And in fact,
say thank you, yes.
That's the truth. So God helps those who help themselves. I don't know where that thing is in the pipe. Thank you very much, viewers. Over to you, Miriam, for your African news.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we start with Zimbabwe, and the family of former Zimbabwean leader Robert Mugabe does not want the late Liberation War hero buried at the country's National Heroes Acre, preferring a family shrine in keeping with his last wishes. According to a government memo sent to diplomatic missions, Mugabe's funeral will be in Harare's National Sports Stadium on Saturday, though it did not specify where the burial will be on Sunday. But at the beginning of our show today, Dr. Matsanga came in with the latest information speculation about that, and it has now been confirmed that the former President Robert Mugabe will actually be buried at the Heroes Corner there in Harare, Zimbabwe. And there had been some little problems because some of his relatives was saying that he'll be buried in the capital because he did not want the people who participated in removing him from power to actually attend his burial or funeral, and so taking him back to his village, that he would have snubbed these people that he did not want to attend his funeral or burial. But now it has been confirmed that he will be buried in Harare on Sunday. And so we go to Sudan, where Sudan swore in its first cabinet since the removal of former President Omar al-Bashir in April, following nationwide protests against his rule. The 18-member cabinet, led by Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, which includes 4 women, took the oath at the presidential palace in Khartoum on Sunday. And still in Sudan, the African Union has lifted its suspension of Sudan 3 months after freezing its membership following Khartoum's bloody crackdown on pro-democracy protesters. The AU's Peace and Security Council said on Friday that the decision followed the announcement of Sudan's first cabinet since the ousting of veteran leader Omar al-Bashir. And still in Sudan, and Sudan's former President Omar al-Bashir is battling to prove that he did not swindle state resources at a trial where he is charged with possessing illicit foreign currency and corruption. Speaking publicly for the first time since his ouster, Bashir said last week he had received $25 million from Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, as well as from other sources, but had not received or used money from his own benefit. Testifying in court on Saturday, Bashir's last office manager said the president was the only person with a key to a room at the presidential palace holding millions of euros. Yasser Bashir said that the former president gave him more than 10 million euros, that amounts to $11 million, cash in his final months of rule for delivery to different parties. The former manager, who worked for Bashir from September 2018, was speaking as a defense witness, and he also said the president also gave 5 million euros for Abdulrahman Hamdan Daglo, a deputy head of feared military rapid support forces, RSF. So Bashir is actually...
Did I tell you? I told you.
There's a problem there.
Duglo.
But where will that lead Duglo now?
He's in Juba.
He ate the money.
Yeah,
5 million euros.
His uniforms are different. Those are special uniforms from Saudi Arabia.
From Saudi Arabia.
Yes, and you know, Janjaweed is the most sophisticated army on this continent.
Is it an army or a militia group?
No, it's a well-trained. They are my friends. I know them.
Rapid support forces.
The rapid force of my friend Duglo, a great friend of mine. I know him. You know, Duglo.
But will not this implicate him?
About what? He took the money.
Will he not be
the money to
compromised?
keep the forces to come. Originally, you know, the first leader who took over was overthrown by them.
But Bashir gave him this money to pacify him. It was personally given to Duglo, not for the rapid Sudan forces.
So let's see how it goes. He needs I think I better intervene. I will try to call him this week and see how to help. You know, the problem of that whole issue of South Sudan,
yes,
is the ICC is actually looking and asking, requesting that don't waste time there. We need Bashir. But if Sudan accepts, then the rest of the army officers will not be in the military because they all took part.
Yes.
So if you give ICC Bashir, then you have now opened the Pandora box.
For the rest.
And I'm now giving advice to Doglo and the rest and Hamed. Please don't accept anything to do with ICC. I said I was going to move to ICC on South African xenophobia. I got a telephone from my South African man in Foreign Affairs saying, please, we shall sort this thing out. Yeah, because there is trouble. They know if they land there, those guys will not leave that Cape Town, Pretoria. They will not leave Johannesburg. They will come for them until they get something. So he said, please don't fire. Thank you very much, comrade. I had switched your phone off, but when I looked at your number coming several times, I sympathized with you. So he said, don't do that, please. We are comrades, we have erred, we have accepted a mistake. I want it to be made public. Nigerians have lost property. Zambians have lost property. Mozambicans have lost people. People have been their cars, their property. If your car is burnt, what will you do? Even documents are burnt. How will you get a replacement?
It's difficult. All right, and we'll come back to that on South Africa. So we move to Cameroon, where judges in Cameroon have adjourned the trial of main opposition leader Maurice Kamto and dozens of other politicians after one of them collapsed in court. Following anti-government protests, opposition leader Maurice Kamto and more than 80 other politicians were arrested in January. Human rights groups are calling for the immediate release of Kamto and say it is part of a violent crackdown by president against any form of dissent. And in Burkina Faso, at least 29 people were killed in two separate incidents in Burkina Faso's troubled north on Sunday after a food convoy and transport truck were attacked. The government has confirmed one vehicle transporting people and goods rode over an improvised explosive device IED in the Barcelongo area, leaving at least 15 passengers dead. A government spokesperson Remise Fulgence Jinjune said in a statement, and most of the dead were traders. And now to South Africa. At least one person was killed and 5 others injured in Johannesburg on Sunday after security forces clashed with looters in the latest outbreak of xenophobic violence. South Africa's biggest city and other areas were hit by a surge of attacks against businesses owned by migrants in last week, leaving at least 10 people dead and prompting protests from several African countries. And still, we stay with South Africa, and South Africans did disrupt a speech in Johannesburg by a veteran politician who was trying to quell tensions following a recent wave of deadly riots and xenophobic attacks. Mangosuthu Buthelezi was heckled by a rowdy section of the crowd, and dozens of men marched through the area calling for foreigners to leave. At least 10 people, 2 of them foreign nationals, have been killed in the violence over the last week. Mr. Buthelezi is a Zulu leader during apartheid and a former leader of South Africa's opposition Nkatha Freedom Party. And we go to the DRC Congo, where President Felix Tshisekedi faces a stern test this week as parents and children across Democratic Republic of Congo hope his government will keep a costly vow that he made to make school tuition free. Tshisekedi, who took office in January, pledged to allocate $2.6 billion to primary education, approximately 40% of the vast country's annual budget. And in South Sudan, will mark the first anniversary of the peace agreement on September 12th, but the implementation process remains a challenge. They proposed a regular face-to-face meeting between the main protagonists, President Salva Kiir and rebel leader Dr. Riek Machar, has not been happening, while the number of state security arrangements remains the two biggest challenges. Sudan Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok has offered to supervise a face-to-face meeting between President Kiir and Dr. Machar in Juba in the near future. And of course, that is the news I had before he came here, and Dr. Matanga came in and said, you know what, as we speak right now, Riek Machar is in Juba, and I think they're there for the peace deal to start. And we go to Libya, where a charity ship run by humanitarian grounds in Mediterranean spent a rainy Sunday searching open waters for a fragile rubber boat overboarded by migrants before finally plucking 50 people to safety not far from Libya's coast. The Norwegian-flagged Ocean Viking, which is operated jointly by SOS Mediterranean and Doctors Without Borders, sent its own boats to pick up pregnant women close to full term, 12 minors and 37 men, all from sub-Saharan Africa. And that is the latest from Africa this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Doctor, it's a good thing that the Sudan peace process has started, and it's a good thing that Riek Machar is in Juba. And on 12th of this month, of course, they'll be marking the first anniversary of the peace agreement. They were given 6 months to see that the South Sudan, there's peace returns to South Sudan. That happened, and it came to May, but no developments had been seen in South Sudan. So they were added another 6 months that it will be ending in November. And as far as we are concerned, or from the information we have from Juba, nothing has been able to made, and there's not been able to have any tangible developments in terms of realizing the peace deal, and that finally can enable South Sudan to have a unity government, because that was proposed as. And also at the beginning of the show, Dr. Matanga came here with the staggering figures of the soldiers that just from one side of around 125,000 plus soldiers just from one side. And there has been claims that these soldiers, of course, have not received proper military training. They've not been to a military camp or military school for them to really know how to act as a professional military or soldiers there in Sudan. So it has a militia outfit, and that's why even there has been reports that the South Sudan army has been the one meting instead of protecting its people, because that is what this army is meant to do, protect its citizens within its borders and outside aggression. But instead, the military of South Sudan have been the one meeting their citizens with, the human rights abuses, raping women, and some of these bad things that have been happening in South Sudan. So, Doctor, I don't know, with the return of Dr. Riek Machar in South Sudan, is there hope for a lasting peace in South Sudan, or we still need to hand them over to United Nations Security Council?
I think they have read the very serious, they have read a very, very serious riot. Mm-hmm. That's why you see everybody is moving towards that direction. Mm-hmm. That direction, if you don't go that direction, mm-hmm. the Security Council is going to make something work. So that's why Riek has come. We need to get more money for funding and resettling these soldiers. Less than that, we are in a quagmire state. Mm-hmm. We need more money. We need to ask for international agencies to help so that people can get the few things to resettle the peace process, so that the peace process can go through. Mm-hmm. Less than that, we might actually be rotating in the same direction without movement. Mm-hmm. And whether Riek will honor the agreement, I think right now, the Security Council is at his doorsteps. Mm-hmm.
Does he have a choice, I think, at
no,
this point?
No, the tribunal is at the doorsteps. But still, what lingers in this entire whole thing is the international agencies are still going to come for accountability.
Accountability, yes.
So we must iron out these things before we commit ourselves to any form of an agreement which is politically structured. I am against a political structure when there is no accountability and no redemption strategy. If those redemption strategies is missing, the political structure will erupt into chaos again. Mm-hmm. Believe me or not.
Yes, and maybe Dr. Machar, having sat there in Khartoum and looking at the events that have been happening, not just in Sudan, but across Africa, I think because it's in July, he wrote to President Salva Kiir and he said he is worried because 2 months later after they were given another time to make sure that the peace process happens by 18th of November, I believe, nothing had happened. So he wrote to President Salva Kiir expressing his concern over the time wasted, this time that has been wasted, said 2 months, and they're remaining with 4 months. So that perhaps showed that he's willing to come on the table. But President Salva Kiir said, you know what, yes, we can do that, but I will not come to Addis Ababa, because that is where he wanted Salva Kiir for them to have a meeting through IGAD. Salva Kiir said, no, you have to come back to Juba, because this is where the peace agreement was done. This is where the peace should be implemented. So if I should have any conversations with you, it will be within the boundaries of Juba. So it's a good thing that Machar has swallowed part of his ego, and maybe because, like you've said, he's being brought by the second in command in the Sudan army, so maybe his security, that has been his major concern, has been taken care of, and that he's assured now that he'll be safe.
Actually, we have pictures right now coming from Juba.
Yes.
I don't know. Send those pictures to Stephen.
Yes.
We have pictures coming from Juba. Send them to us. Dr. Riek Machar has just arrived in
Juba.
Yes.
But also, the Pope is visiting Africa.
Can
right
you?
now.
Yes.
And he's
send them to Stephen.
Yes. So
to send one to me also. The pictures of Dr. Riek Machar arriving in Juba. I can even see number 2. Yes, number 2 of Sudan also is there.
Sudan Army.
Yes. And then I can see all my friends. We were together in the peace process, so I can see all of them. The commanders are here. Dr. Riek Machar has touched in Juba International Airport, and he will be heading to the State House, Juba, where he will be meeting His Excellency President Salva Kiir to discuss implementation of revitalized peace agreement. That's very good news for us.
Yes.
We want to clap for that. I don't know whether Stephen can bring any pictures for our viewers to see.
Yes.
So
that means there's hope in South Sudan.
Yes, I can see all of them, even in Mukhtar. I can, Mr. Mukhtar,
yes.
Halifa Mukhtar is here. Is there. I have seen them.
Yes.
All of them. The PAs, they are here.
And also, I don't know.
These are the people we did the peace process with. Of South Sudan. Yes.
Yeah, and that says a lot about Sudan leadership, because they realize should South Sudan go south, then they're going south together with them. So Sudan has, even going through all the troubles that they've been going through internally there in Sudan, but still the peace in South Sudan, we can see, has been something that has been at the top of the agenda, and led by now the new Prime Minister. They've decided, you know what, we still have to go back to our role of trying to bring peace and unity in South Sudan, because if South Sudan is united and is at peace, people of Sudan will benefit from that, because the way things were and the way things were in Sudan, nobody was going to have an easy time there. So we can see the leadership of Sudan really making this a priority, the same way the government of now the ousted President Omar al-Bashir also finding a lasting peace in South Sudan was part of his agenda and part of his top agenda. And so we can see now, even with the new incoming government, they've made that an agenda on top of the agenda, and now they're going out there and trying to make sure that these two warring fractions are having a place at the table in terms of finding a lasting peace for Sudan. Even as we wait for those images from Juba, we are told Riek Machar has touched down at Juba International Airport, and they're there. He's meeting with President Salva Kiir to try and continue with the revitalized peace agreement that they signed last year in September. They're supposed to be marking 1 year of that agreement, but it failed to be implemented in May. That was the deadline, and so they were allowed another 6 months, and that should be ending in November, just a few months from now. And so they've been wasting time dilly-dallying. A lot of they were not really they were Machar was worried about his security, and he was not very trusting towards the Sudan government led by, Salva Kiir. But now Sudan has said, you know what? Even last week, the new prime minister, he said, I will guarantee your security. And we see now his security has been guaranteed. And he said Sudan will continue with its mediation role in trying to bring South Sudan together and the different warring communities together. And I think it's about time South Sudanese, even across the globe, are waiting for this because they're tired of being labeled as refugees. Many countries across Africa being tired of, others are wishing to go back home, really, because they were uprooted from their home and they've been forced into exile, and now they're having refugee status across the world, and they're longing to come back home.
I told you, General Duklo is here. I told you he has just arrived, you see?
Yes.
That's General Duklo.
Yes. So he's the one that is guaranteeing Dr. Riek Machar.
He stands out. From that time, from 1996, he has always been like that. Very, 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 very concerned about security. So General number 2 of Khartoum is here. And that is a very good gesture. The day is changed now. So we are waiting for our pictures. Oh, they have come. There you are.
Yes.
Those are live pictures from Juba, South Sudan, where General Riek Machar Teni, Dr. Riek, Lieutenant General Dr. Riek Machar Teni has arrived in Juba. A great friend of mine, and I hope he will keep the peace. A great friend who made Uganda to be peaceful. It is his turn to make his country peaceful. Yes.
Indeed. So
thank you very much, Dr. Riek Machar. All what we have been saying, our television station has only been saying, do it now. Don't waste time.
Otherwise, it will be done for you.
Yes, otherwise it will be done for you. So now I can relax, I can go and have coffee. But before I go to have coffee, I have another topic that I have to add. You finished?
I think I was through, but also South Africans, they seems not to care so much. Remember the apartheid, one of the leaders there, Zulu leaders, Mangosuthu Buthelezi is a very famous name. I'm sure it's very synonymous with African politics, especially the fight against apartheid in South Africa. So yesterday he tried to hold a rally to quell the tensions and talk to the South Africans youth and tell them, you know what, you're not supposed to be fighting your fellow Africans like that. But you know what happened? They actually embarrassed him in that rally, and they booed him, and the South Africans continued singing war songs against other African nationalities there in South Africa. So that means that the youth in South Africa, a section of them, not all of them, we cannot blanket condemn all of them because... Yes.
Can I tell you?
Please.
You are still talking about South Africa.
We have to.
South Africa is already gone. It's done.
It's gone to the who?
George Soros failed to change through Malema. Now he has changed through other rogue elements. The money that is destroying South Africa right now is George Soros' money. And that is the money paid to youth who are now saying we disrupt, if you touch these other black Africans, the country will go down, everybody will condemn South Africa. Have you seen anybody sending a message from those areas to Mugabe's death? That's the type of hatred these guys have for liberation organizations. I told you yesterday that if you have a revolutionary party like ZANU-PF, ANC, Frelimo, NRM, SWAPO, CCM, Walai, and MPLA, get ready. These guys are determined, Miriam, to throw out these all revolutionary parties dismantle them. I'm telling you, it's a project on the shelves. And if you look at the countries on sub-Saharan Africa that had liberation parties like SPLM, it's finished. Riek Machar is coming back today, a one torn-up country. That was a liberation organization. South Sudan People's Liberation Army. Cut through French proxies and George Soros. You will see everywhere in where there is that revolutionary zeal. Ethiopia, Zenawi Manta is cut to size. The late Zenawi is gone. Ethiopia is slowly drifting towards a fight. That's the ruling party there is revolutionary, created by Zenawi. And they have been conducting elections. So they are not interested. They want to kill that Zenawi. My friend, Zenawi's ideology. Come to Uganda. They are not interested. President Museveni is very good. They like him because he's gone to Somalia. The only thing that makes him to be liked is going to Somalia.
Oh, that's why they can tolerate him.
Yes, but they don't like him.
So they just tolerate
They
him.
would, I'm telling you, they would look for a way to dismember NRM at one stage. I'm a Ugandan and I tell the truth. CCM,
Tanzania.
when Magufuli started very well, you saw them coming up to say Magufuli is imprisoning people, is harassing people, people are being assassinated. You know, CCM, Magufuli had to put his feet down and tone down this issue of, they don't want a successful revolutionary party. Frelimo. When President Nyusi was in power, I'm told there's a new one there now, who has taken over from Nyusi, who has done his 10 years.
They're meant to be going to an election.
I don't know whether there is Nyusi or whatever, whoever is there.
And so the
one who signed an agreement.
Yes.
This guy, they funded Renamo. They resurrected Renamo.
And now there's war in Renamo there.
Yes, they resurrected Renamo.
You know what the flag
part of the Renamo group signed an agreement. Part was told don't, to wait and see what happens. The same group. I'm telling you, it is the mafia. The international mafia system. The cartels. Why? Look, Trump is telling everybody in the world is that why is George Soros still working in the United States? He would be in jail. But George Soros is a branch of all these women you see flying to Zimbabwe. That there is a group of women going to meet Emerson Mnangagwa. It's just to test the waters, to see the loopholes of where regime change can, anywhere where you touch Grace Machel,
yes.
Grace Mandela.
Mandela, yes.
If you touch her in your country, prepare for a regime change. I'm an African and I speak the truth. If people don't like to hear me, switch off.
So she's a puppet to the West.
Yes. When Gracia Machel came here, Kenya was on fire.
Yes.
She wanted to leave it on fire. Some of us walked out of Serena Hotel in protest. I was with Chisano. I had preferred Chisano to sort this Kenyan issue because we were working on the Uganda peace process. But when she came, I told Mokapa, Mzee, hapa munaharibu. Mama Machel, I will never trust.
Let's help one of our viewers here. Which country is that you mentioned with the Renamo? It's in Mozambique.
Yes.
Yes,
Mozambique. There was a fight. Renamo and Frelimo wanted to fight. And because I was analyzing revolutionary parties.
And Renamo was the party of Samora.
No, Frelimo was Samora Machel,
yes.
which is Chisano, Nyusi, and there was another president before Nyusi who took over from Chisano. You know? So when you look at, I have been with this Dr. Deira of the one in Amazon. Those are my comrades in a struggle into finding peace in Africa. So when you look at what is happening now, anybody who has a revolutionary party, like NRM, like a CCM, like a ANC, like a ZANU-PF, like a Frelimo, like a SWAPO, like a MPLA of my in-laws in Rwanda. I've told my in-law in Rwanda to be careful.
Rwanda or Angola?
Rwanda, Angola. To be very careful.
Oh, Rwanda. Okay.
Kagame. Those are
Kagame is on the hit list right
Yes. Listen. Kagame, those are the parties.
His story might end up like that of Mugabe.
Look, listen, the story, those are the parties they are targeting. And a revolutionary party. You tell me why Mr. George Soros walks free and sends these guys in Kenya to write a report, preempt what BBI is writing. Have you seen the drama here? Let's now land in this, our topic of the day. We have 20 minutes to go.
Yes.
Let's hammer it for 25 minutes.
But before we go, Doctor, can you answer this one of our viewers here?
Yes.
Mbei Soheran himself. You're saying, Dr. Matanga, as a close friend of the late Gabriel Mugabe, do you think the wife's amnesty given to her by the current government will expire once the legend is buried, thus arrest her? If that happens to be the case, do you find it fair? Otherwise, keep your promise you made on Punchline a day before Mugabe's died, that should the enigma happen to rest, you will travel to Zimbabwe to give a send-off. He's making those preparations. I'm sure he wants to go and say goodbye to his friend. But he's saying here, he's raising a pertinent question here, and he said, after Mugabe stepped down, of course, one of the agreements with the government that was incoming and the military that conducted the coup, he said Mugabe will be protected, his family will be protected, nothing, he will not be brought, any charges will not be preferred against him. But now Mbei is asking, now that Mugabe is dead, do you think the government of Mnangagwa will start going after Grace Mugabe?
No, Emerson Mnangagwa is my best friend for 17 years. Over 17 years.
Your best friend?
Yes.
Yeah, that is very strong.
He introduced me to Mugabe. It is Idi who introduced me to Mugabe.
Well, he was working in his government.
And Moyo was very annoyed because Idi had introduced me to Mugabe. And I was doing you know me, I move very fast on international law. Quickly, I fixed Changarai. Quickly.
You're the one who fixed Changarai.
Yes, everywhere. Wherever Changarai could go, I would first of all make the speech and the people could listen to me first. Because Changarai was a poor speaker.
So what did you have against Changarai, the late Morgan Changarai?
Very bad things. He called for sanctions.
Oh, he's the one who called for sanctions.
Yeah, honestly. They called for sanctions. I used to fight them. There's a day we fought in London and it was hot. You know, with this volume, the Zimbabweans can't touch me. When I enter the hall and I'm qualified, the foreign and the Commonwealth office, what can you do? I tell them off. I used to tell Changarai off that you are just, your head is like a pumpkin. You have nothing. He's the one who called for sanctions. That guy called for sanctions, which are hurting these Zimbabweans. They don't see it. They don't see it. Walshman Kube, Professor Walshman Kube, Changarai, Hupe, these guys called for sanctions. Kolotan, all these guys, I know them, Kolotan, Kube, Changarai, Sikara. There is another one, Masasiriwa. There is another one. These guys called for sanctions. And then Chamisa. They called for sanctions to kill their people. The Zimbabweans don't understand, but one day they will understand. These things would have not, if this is the kind of opposition that you have in Africa, then I don't want to be in opposition. I'd rather be in the government. Yeah, honestly, if this is the opposition that goes to London to call for sanctions to come and hurt Ugandans, I wouldn't be there. I've been in opposition for 34 years. 34 years. But I've never called for sanctions against Uganda.
Because it will only hurt Ugandans.
It does not hurt Museveni. Museveni can send people in London to bring him what he wants. But the ordinary person, if you call for sanctions against Uganda, like the way this Bob Wine and other people are saying they need sanctions on Museveni, they will hurt us. They will not hurt the ruling class. That's what I told Tony Blair. I told Tony Blair, your Honorable Right Prime Minister, I'm a member of the Labour Party since 1987. This engage, contain President Mugabe. Let's not isolate President Mugabe. They did that. Sanctions were hit, targeted. All ministers not traveling through Europe. So how do you expect ministers to bring agriculture products? How do you expect ministers to bring medicine? How do you expect ministers to go and discuss social welfare, crime? These are some of the things that people hate me for talking the truth.
And of course, Mugabe had a hate-love affair with the Europeans, especially before late 90s and early 2000. And of course, the watershed period was between 2000, but now they started getting the land from the white farmers. But the beef between Mugabe and former Prime Minister Tony Blair became very personal. Is there a reason as to that?
No, not. It is because there is no personal. Why?
You can see when Blair was
yesterday,
Mugabe.
my daughter was here. I wanted her to come and tell the story how, because of my support for Mugabe, how we lived 5 years under Scotland Yard protection. Because people wanted to assassinate me. I did not know.
Zimbabweans?
No, I don't know, not even some supremacists. So me, I was called to Croydon police station to return to London. I reached London at the police station. The officer, the lady superintendent of police in Scotland Yard said she laughed at me. I thought, you see, I even removed my will and I wrote gave it to my children. I called all of them to come. I said, I'm going, I don't know. But don't ever fight. I've gone. This is the truth. Because I only stood up in London. There is no way you could talk about Mugabe when I'm president. I went to all these newspapers, Sky News. I was working with Sky News as a senior consultant. I brought programs on Zimbabwe. I took Sky News. We are the first group that went to Zimbabwe. I got even a medal and a certificate and a bonus from Sky News for having gone to interview Mugabe. The first group of Britain to interview Mugabe is me and Stuart Ramsey. These guys put what they called fatwa. So I didn't know. Police said, now this is I was at 5 years from 2004. Paka 2009, we had equipment that you'd press like this. British police would be here. Power should not go off. So that is a small pain like this. My daughter, my wife, because we are the only people left in the house. The others have married and are gone. So I thought, what? I kept on asking the British police, can you tell me who wanted, up to today, who wanted to kill me? They said, we have put them in jail. for many years to come. They didn't even tell me because they intercepted messages. My only being killed, going to be killed, was because I supported this gentleman who has died. I woke up one morning with 50 journalists in front of my house. You saw the story in the Telegraph. I told you one day you Googled it. You saw it. Yes. They say bad news, Mugabe's big mouth is here. That's a headline in the Telegraph.
Mugabe's mouthpiece is here.
And they said, yeah, this guy, they brought so many things distorted. You know, they gave me things that can antagonize me with the government.
Who do you think was behind those headlines? The British? During
they did not want, but what helped me is that I'm a Labour Party member. And I went back to the Labour Party. Is a democratic right for me to oppose your move towards sanctions in Zimbabwe. I have a right to speak. And then if you don't want, you close me because Mugabe has insulted people, then that is very wrong. That's how I survived. Robin Cook, the late Foreign Secretary, had said, no, David is correct. He has his views. He was my friend. Because during my master's degree, I went to do internship in that office of labor. Have you seen? The Labour Party office. So I became a policy analyst on Africa, and I had known all this African politics to juggle. You know, some people think River Nile is in Cameroon. You know, those Bazungu don't think they are educated. They think it is in Cameroon until they Google here. But me, I left Africa when I know where River Nile source is. So I got a job there. After internship, they said, stay here in the Commonwealth. We won an election together. That's how I know Catherine Bond, Catherine Margaret Beckett, these are Scotland, this Secretary General. These are my friends. They are comrades. They can't find me and they say, who is this? They would say, this is Matang.
It's one of us, yes.
Blanket, who, all of them. So, I have done my best for Africa. So when you look at this topic, which we now go into.
Yes.
But before we do that, let's answer the question of Abel.
What if Mugabe's wife is...
She can't be arrested for what?
The government guaranteed.
We have Emerson cannot arrest Mugabe's wife. For what? Emerson is a God-fearing man. He forgives. Although Grace misbehaved, at this moment...
Do you think she deserves...
Yes, we don't want... If you want to build a country properly, don't go into those small things again. Nobody can allow Emerson to arrest Grace. What crime has she committed? The husband is gone. Are you going now to harass her because of the husband? She's now left alone as Grace to maintain the family and the legacy of President Robert Mugabe. Mugabe chose her. We can't arrest her. Nobody can arrest her. If they arrest, some of us are here, elders. We are in the same age bracket. Pick one telephone call. Hello, Mr. Duglo.
You send Duglo to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, no, Duglo. I said help Riak. Riak should be very grateful for me, with me. And we are helping him. Otherwise, UN tribunal was coming. You think I talked here for nothing? I was aware that the United Nations, I know the country that has drafted the tribunal. I swear. They are just waiting to drop it. Don't you see the Somali is now panicking?
Yes, and
when I went in with this application,
the case was postponed.
Yes, and I'm going in even more. until they come on table. African solutions for Africans. Don't go to ICJ. Bring that topic this afternoon, man. You have been
waiting to ask this
to
question.
ask me questions.
And why is Somali very scared of having a solution by the African Union?
They don't, because they sold these things long time ago. We have been very quiet. There's nobody drumming international support. These minerals have already been sold by Somalis who have British and American passports. Let's play the game now. Let's begin the game. We have traced who has sold all these things of the oil. That's why people are protecting it. They don't want it to go. They have sold it in Texas.
All right.
Tell me why America was interested in Mogadishu. Why? The Bush family is interested in Somalia. I trace all these problems, they have gone up to Texas. I'm telling you, at the end of the day, Somalia and Kenya will have to go to Texas. Believe me or not. Hey.
Not in Norway.
No. These Norwegians are brokers. This stupid Norway is a broker. But let's now tell the world the truth that this oil has been sold by men who claim to be having Somali at heart, yet they are not Somalis, they are Americans. And other countries in Europe. We have a problem here.
So we talk about it in the afternoon.
Let's arrange.
All right. So as it is right now, the latest from the Somali-Kenya spat at the maritime problems we'll be having between these two countries. The case was supposed to start the hearing on 9th. That was supposed to be today, but it has been postponed to when? In 2 months? It will start in 2 months, to November, I think. And so we have a lot in November. We have the Somali-Kenya case to start at the International Court of Justice. And we also have the deadline by the South Sudan to see if they will have achieved whatever they're supposed to achieve within the timeline of 6 months, and able to start a unity government in South Sudan. So in November we have a lot to look for, and of course a country like Tunisia is preparing for elections, and Algeria, we don't know what became of them.
And we have just received the news that the Mombasa High Court has temporarily stopped the Director of Public Prosecutions from charging the magistrate who stole 30 million shillings worth of heroin, cocaine. It's latest, it has arrived, breaking news. The latest is that the magistrate, we showed you how they took the heroin, has been released on 100,000 bail. Is out, is gone. Is this the court we are looking for?
And there's been a court injunction stopping the arrest.
Yes. Stop the prosecution by the DPP. It's going to like just Mwiru. It's like a Mwiru case. He was the judge, the magistrate has said, maybe I said he did not handle it.
And nobody's talking about that case anymore, including you, Doctor. You took a break from Mwilu's case. Well, there's not been the latest from the
The woman used her beauty.
Her charm.
Her charm, beauty, and she's sitting pretty.
All right.
Yeah, but we shall come back revised. So when you look at, let's come to lastly, the 3 minutes to top of our, let's just do 5 to 10 minutes on our topic, which was civil society in Kenya. Has it become a political party or a hired brigade?
Yes.
I submit that it is hired brigade. I submit, therefore, that look at the BBI results. Recommendations have not come. These guys have run already to make recommendations. And to say, conceived, capture that conception.
They're saying the BBI was captured
Yes.
from Kosovo.
So they have watered it down through George Soros, who has given them money. They have sat down and written a document to dilute whatever the BBI will bring out, because they were not involved. That's what they did. You see, this is where Africa loses it. We lose it with intellectuals hammering each other. And that is what exactly has happened. Yes.
So they're saying they're not consulted, but the BBI team was holding public forums for people to bring their views. They did not get an opportunity.
You see, a Muzungu sitting in Washington doesn't know that these tactics are used by the man whom he has released the dollars to go and molest the government. I've told you, if you have a revolutionary government in Africa, prepare. These guys are coming. South Africa now, Sunday, even if, you know, the president was telling us the situation is under control. On Sunday, yesterday, they landed on the more shops, more black people.
Yeah, they did. South Africans, they did that. And Mbei here, thank you so much for engaging with us this afternoon. You're saying to Somali now, what's the position of General Madobe regarding the boundary conflict, given that the disputed area falls under his state, Jubaland, where he is the president and at the same time Kenya's biggest ally and trustee in Somalia? I think Madobe has become a headache for Somali government, and of course he's very close ties with the Kenyan government. And the 15 disputed areas are found in Jubaland. So this is the contention. And Somali's government does not know what to do with the Madobe right now because he's very close to Kenya, so he does not have an ally there.
Mine is it's an international approach, Abel.
Yes.
And I will take it the international
approach.
So
we leave this for the Kenyan.
And I have come in to make sure that Somalia comes to table and discusses these problems without going through the ICJ.
The court, yes.
Kenya equally should not attempt to go to ICJs because there is no justice there. The presiding president of the court who commands the court comes from Somalia.
So there's already
there is
conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. And even if you see from any blackboard, wherever you are, you turn left or right, that thing is there. That guy puts Somalia first before he can make judgment on Kenya. Therefore, the two countries being neighbors, for us to avoid a long-lasting hatred, which could allow enemies to come and hit us more, let's go and talk outside.
Outside the court settlement.
That's all.
And that is what Kenya has.
And that's why I laid my complaints to the court. I am not a state. I am a complainant. If that judge came to rape my daughter, I would complain. I would not wait for the state to complain for me. If that judge has bought houses in Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, I've taken photographs, I've handed it to the court. So let the court find out. If they take time to investigate, if they want further information, I will provide. I'm ready to sit on the panel and answer the questions. I put them in black and white and in soft copy, hard copy, DVDs, and I surrendered to them. That's me. And then you see a newspaper like the Star says, it can't, Matangas. I have not gone to file a case against Somalia. I've filed a complaint against one of the judges. This complaint circulates among the judges. So let the judges read the complaint and come back. If it has merit, they will tell me. If it doesn't have merit, that's it. So some of these, you see, people like the Star newspaper, they need to go to school. They are run by a Mzungu called William Pike. I don't know why he doesn't read international law. William Pike went to a very good school in London. And he did very good journalism in the United Kingdom. Why is he not knowing that a complaint is different than is different from a case? I've not filed a case. I've filed a complaint, several complaints actually 6 of them, to the registrar. It is up to them. The records of delivery, the records of receipt, everything is with me. Both electronically and hard copies. And I've left it for them to make a decision what they want to do with them. If they want to reject the complaints, it is up to Kenya. I've given copies to Museveni, I've given copies to Antagen, I've given copies to AU, I've given copies to the United Nations, who are the employers of that court. That court works under the jurisdiction of United Nations.
And just to be clear for our viewers who perhaps may not know, tell them that you've filed this complaint on your own behalf.
Yes.
Not on behalf of the Kenyan government.
Not on behalf of the Kenya government. I filed on behalf of Pan-African Forum UK Limited. I am entitled as a person, an ombudsman of international community. I have international interest. The case is going to bring bad feelings in the region. The case is going to kill my brothers, Ugandan brothers, who are in Somalia guarding the Somalis. Therefore, I have a right. It is not a case. I filed complaints. There's a difference. So the people who had failed to file them before are running around with their trousers that, oh, this cannot go away, telling in the newspaper to write, this can't go. Who told you? You think I don't have legal advice? My lawyer is one of the best lawyers on planet Earth. He's called Chief Charles Taku. I don't go wrong. We have never gone wrong in that court. We are the only people who won a case in Arusha. So forget about these stupid lawyers, Wazungu, that you want to hire. Hire us. Let's be on the technical team and face this Wazungu. They don't know even the geography of this area. What do they know? Which judge in the ICJ would want Africa to have bloodshed? Who? Unless there is a problem. Let's present the case of bloodshed. Once you make a ruling, this thing has been there for years. And now you want to come and say this goes that way. Then you redraw the whole map of Africa. You get the point?
All right.
So people should learn not to write. I have done it. I am there. You are not going to remove me because I'm not doing it. I was not sent by the Kenya government. I am a person who went and saw the problem, saw the loophole. I filed. If it can help the Kenya government, fine. It is helping them. It will help them because you cannot go to a butcher to ask a butcher to give you a panga, yet his panga belongs to the other friend, neighbor whom he is going to give at night to kill you. Have you seen? That nisaidia hiyo. Anasema hapana ya ule. Usiku anapatia ule kukuja kuua. This is exactly what has happened on the Kenyan case. The president of the court is a Somali, a friend of Famijo. His father works with Famijo. How can he make a ruling in favor of Kenya?
His father works with...
Works up to today. He's an elder.
He should have recused himself because he understands the law.
And we are going around, running around the whole world that we are going to see hedge. What hedge? This guy should first get out. Then we have another Muzungu from wherever you pick. Bring him.
Or from another African country.
Yeah,
that is neutral.
He can be the president but not touch this case. That's all I'm seeking. Is there any problem there, Kenyans? Tell me. Aye. Wajama. When I went for ICC, this same paper, the Star, said I am nothing. They called me I am nothing. Later on they coiled their tails. Said, these guys. I told them this court is rubbish, fake. This Ocampo came to Uganda and only looked for rural black Tolu. And they left Bantu, brown, smiling, enjoying their beers in Kampala. I said this court is a very dangerous court. Where are we now? Am I not vindicated? I am. Thank you very much, viewers. God bless you, wherever you are. We look forward to seeing you very early in the morning. Over to you, Miriam.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. And we see you in our next broadcast.